Welcome back. This is M-Dog, and this is part 2 of our series for all of you new fishermen and women. And we're going to continue right where we left off from. Ooh, look at this bream order. We've got hope, but there's only 19 hours. Also, we should pay attention to the white bream order, but only 13 hours, and that's to get 5, so that's unlikely. We'll see what rotates in when those orders go away. Let's go right back to where we were before. We're at 13 silver, so we need to get some silver to get our second feeder rig. The goals in the coming hours of gameplay will be to get a second feeder rig out, and then also to buy a shovel. Those are going to be the goals. Now, we also need, sorry about that, Steam, thank you. We also need a landing net, and you certainly could make the argument that it is worth getting a landing net before a shovel. But I think it just really depends on what species of fish you are going for and where you're fishing from. I think I am comfortable going with shovel first. It will save us money on having to buy bait or having to deal with going back and forth to the cottage pond to get more bait at least. You do get free bait once a day from the cottage pond. And it will start the leveling process with the crafting, and that's honestly really what we're after. Is we want to start getting some of those advanced baits that you can craft. We'll just leave those in for right now and see if we're getting bites in this spot. So I don't know how long we got a solid hour and 15 minutes in the first video. I don't know that we'll go this long, go that long on this video. Just based on what I've got going on around me, I may not have that much time, but we will at least continue to make a little progress and keep our eye on the goals that we have before us in terms of what we want to get next. And yeah, we will see. You know what we ought to do here, I can already tell the bite rate's going to be too low, isn't it? What we ought to do here is go back to this spot, I think, sort of right in between there. Let's get this one out there a little bit. There we go. That is perfect. I think we'll catch something right there. We'll see, but I think we will. And it looks like there are bites happening over here. Let's watch it. Yeah, there we go. First fish of the day. It's a nice, decent size. Look like a roach, which that's fine. Float fishing up to 4.7. Quite exciting. Let's see if we are in fact getting nibbles. You kind of expect to see nibbles pretty quick in a spot like this, I feel like, but we'll see. We shall see. So I believe, if I remember correctly, we have bread. Nope, sorry. Worm on that one, and bread on the... No, maggots. Oh, we had switched it. We had switched it, hadn't we? We probably ought to put bread back on. Bread should do fine in this spot. There's some nibbles going on, for sure. And this is one of the nice things about bottom or feeder fishing. You hear that bell when it goes off, so you know when there's a fish on. So you can kind of just, you know, focus on other things, like if you're float fishing, or what I'd like to do eventually in this series is do some spin fishing, even at these low-level places, especially sort of in recognition that we do have a new lake coming out in the next week or so. Week to 10 days, it sounds like. And a little small Crucian. And so we might as well get some spin fishing going so we can talk about that for when the new lake hits. I think there are nibbles going on there. Let's just look over here. Pretty slow bite rate so far on the bottom rig, and we may find, if the bream aren't biting today, we may find that it's just better to put the, wow, quick bites, that it's better to put the bottom feeder in a spot that will get, get quicker bites as well. So we may need to adjust placement there. But yeah, worms seem to be doing really well here. And this is what you want at low level. We're just going for volume fishing. We're not trying to catch common carp or anything crazy on this little gear that's going to break everything. We're just trying to get a high volume of fish, hopefully get some markers in there to help make silver, and hopefully get lucky on a couple cafe orders here or there. So we are at Mosquito. We could always go back to Cottage Pond, although I will tell you that I think consistently you can probably get a little better fishing done at Mosquito. And then at level 7, we have the chance to go to Winding, which we probably will do. Not necessarily right at level 7, although we might. But Winding these days is a great place for feeder fishing and float fishing. So looks like we do have a bite or something going on. In fact, we may just straight up have a fish on our feeder. So let's see what's going on with that. Yeah. Put our friction brake up a little bit. If you don't know, you adjust the friction brake with your middle mouse wheel. Let's see what this is. Okay, so that's not a good sign. When you're going for bream and you catch common roach, not exactly what you want to see. We're going to cast a little more in that direction. See if anything different will happen. Yeah, this I might like it over here by this log. If we're getting bites fairly quick, which we did get a bite before, this might be a little better fish over here. Although it might be a little too big. Oh, I think are we caught up on the log here? Hold on. We might be snagged. Yeah, we were snagged. Alright, we're free from snag. Okay. So that wasn't a fish, that was actually the snag. Alright, let's see if we can do this without getting on top of the log. Oh, we don't need to do that short, do we? We'll go like 50%. There we go. There's no telling what's happening. Did I trap myself in here? There's no telling what's happening with our little bamboo rod over here. Right, let's go back to bread and try to get a few more bites, a little higher bite percentage. This little thing doesn't cast very far, does it? Okay. I think what we probably should do here is move this more like this so that we're not so trapped in there. If you look at a feeder rod, you hit Y, hold down Y, it will slowly tighten the line. Came right out of that fish's mouth. Can't wait till we can upgrade the hooks a little bit, but for now this is just where we're at. Yeah. So around back in here, in sort of the northwest part of the map, even farther down here, there's some really good spots in terms of... Did the fish? Man, okay. That's twice that's happened. Guess let's go right here. I guess the fish is dragging it into the wood there. There's some good volume spots, and there's also some spots you can get tench and other things over there. Tempted to go try that. This has just been a little too slow on the bream bites on our feeder, I feel like. Are we still getting nibbles there, or is that just sort of a... Maybe not. Alright, let's move. Let's go ahead and move spots. Because I think that, you know, that was like middle of the morning. Or early morning to middle of the morning fishing. It should be really hot there, so for whatever reason it's not. Let's try this over here. Let's see, can't make pearl barley yet. Alright, let's just cast this right down here. We can go a little deeper in this spot. We'll test that theory. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Tighten this up. This is definitely one of my go-to spots, and honestly once we have pearl barley unlocked would be much more likely to just cast the feeder right into that 5-meter hole. And maggots should work in there as well, but I'm just going to test the maggots along the shore, see how that does. Alright, so there we go. That's what we need. We need a little quicker bites, even if we're only catching, you know, not as good types of fish. Let's see what this is though. That looks breamish, doesn't it? Look at that white bream. That is a beautiful fish. Okay, that is good news. If we can catch those types of fish down this coastline here, that will be great. Look, it's a perch. It's a perch. Getting a bread bite here, but let's tighten this up real quick. Or we'll never know if a fish is on. I think we got it. Yeah. Common roach. Not super exciting, but especially with our bamboo rod using bread, we're literally just looking for volume fishing. We have not caught crucians. We do have 1 of 5 perch. And that's it. Not really working towards any orders at the moment, unfortunately, but... Ooh. Fish on. Fish off. Get a lot of that fish on, fish off when you're feeder fishing. I'm really curious how much this white bream is worth. Let's see if we're getting a bite at the second. You see how since we've moved here the bite volume has increased. So that white bream is 2.9, almost 3 silver for that little fish. That's awesome. That is awesome. And I definitely recommend just every once in a while. Now with this little gear, we should we should hear bites. There shouldn't be many fish that would get on that wouldn't give some sort of indication that our feeder line has something on there. But in general, you want to be checking it ever so often. Sometimes you'll just have a fish on there and not know it. Man, these hooks and just cheap gear. If anything, I may be pulling the floats up a little too fast. Well, not this time. But just have to kind of play around with it some. There's a sleeper. It's a nice sleeper. In the middle of the day. Sleepers like those worms, though. Just have to kind of play with it, try to get used to it. Was there a sleeper order? There is, but ours was too big. What I would love to get is that bream order. I may try once again, if we can get a fish on this line again, I may try once again to cast straight out. See if we can't get a bream. There we go. Well, with it being this size, let's hope it's another fatty white bream. Whatever it is, swam to sort of straight out. Actually, what is that? Oh, it's a Gibel Carp. Yeah, let's go straight out this way. Get to a little deeper water, perhaps. A little deeper water. See how that hook just pops out sometimes? I say sometimes, like, as in almost all the time. Some weeks back, or it may have been months at this point, they did make a change where the nibbles from fish, I don't think, with some species, were lasting a little longer than maybe they intended. And so they decreased the time, but you still get, so there's level 6. You still get a lot of long nibbles at times. I guess we'll try that. I don't see our, oh, there it is. I don't know. Looked like our feather float was underwater, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. So that's a nice Crucian, though. A little bigger fish there. It's probably worth a couple silver. 1.3. And you see, like, per size, how much more silver a bream species is. I mean, this Crucian Carp is twice as big, and it's worth pretty much half as much. Looks like we do have something either on the line or nibbling or something, so. Shoot. I think we talked about this in the first video, but when your bobber is doing that where it's kind of slowly moving away, you don't really want to pull it up. If it's straight sideways, you can. But if it's just kind of slowly dancing away, you're probably not going to land the fish. It's not fully on there yet. Oh, here goes the bread again. After we either get or don't get this fish, we'll look at our skill points again, because I think we're going to want to put some more points in. Yeah, just pull it. If it's sideways like that, just go ahead and pull it. If it's still on there, you'll get it. Alright. So I think we'll put our next point into the spinning reel again. Gives a little more casting distance and accuracy. Wow, did we already have a bite on bread? That's crazy. People are getting excited about. So one of the new species coming in the new lake is going to be brown trout. People are getting excited about setting up some rigs in anticipation of that. Alright, so this is a small fish. Let's see what this is. We'll see if it was worth throwing in that spot. Okay, it is a white bream, so that is kind of what we want. The bream species. We'll put it right back out there, I think. So, for whatever reason in this spot, I feel like bread is actually getting her done a little quicker than worms. And it may even be that the worms need to be a little deeper because we are throwing them a little farther out. So there's an example of just kind of the little sideways float thing where the fish is pulling it a little bit, but it's not fully committed yet. That's fully committed. Another perch. So let's see if we can go a little deeper on this, like 1.25 meters. It shouldn't be too deep for this spot. And as we've talked about before, you do want to keep all of your Shoot, I missed a fish on bread there. No, it's still biting, it looks like. All right, we're going to try to pull this. It's been flirting with it for so long. Let's just see if we can get it out of the water. Alright, Crucian. Let's go check the cafe orders if we don't have anything imminently biting. I'm just curious if we're making any progress towards any of the cafe orders. Okay. So we're 2 away from Crucians. That's good. That's a 5 silver order. We did get 1 perch that meets that one. Our white bream was either too small or too big, and we haven't landed any roughers yet. Okay, a couple of Crucians on both lines there. Is that deep enough? Yeah, it's kind of at a weird angle, isn't it? Let's recast that. So like right out here, it's deep enough. Too close to the shore though. That's 1.25 meters, a little shallow. Wasn't there a Crucian order that we were getting close to? Yeah, neither one of those were the right weight though. It's got to be between 30 and 189s are the small ones. You notice sometimes in the cafe you do get rewarded for the non-marker fish, which is nice because typically you don't get paid much for those. So if you can get a cafe order for those, that's pretty decent silver compared to what you would normally get. These bites take a long time, don't they? But it's not as bad as it used to be. It's amazing how you basically get a percentage point towards your skilling up this type of fishing. Almost every fish you catch at this level, as you get higher level, your chance of getting that skill up decreases significantly. It just takes a lot longer to skill up the higher you go in terms of your whatever type of fishing you're working on. Well, shoot. All right. We're going to try a different spot here, I think. We should have been tracking how long this bite lasted in game. It's been a couple hours already at least, I believe. This is sometimes different per species, but you do sometimes find that some of the larger fish are the ones that actually nibble the most. Guess I should have my other one out if we're going to be waiting this long, but I was going to try to move spots. I just don't want to mess this bite up. We've waited this long. It's just moving all around, hanging out. Finally. Uh-oh. It's too heavy. Yeah, we're going to snap it. Wow. So sometimes the nibbles like that are the big fish. It's hard to know what that would have been. Yeah, we got to check this feeder line more often. There's no telling how long this fish has been on there. Okay, so we lost our hook. We really don't want to use a rusty hook. So let's go buy another hook. Man, I just cannot stand losing hooks. Level 6. Level 3. So those are 2-star. And this requires level 8. And those are 3-star. Okay, so the best hook we could buy is this one. We could do a 14. It's a lot of silver. How much are these? 5. And these are, you know what, I'm going to do a real cheap one because of how much silver we have right now. And plus, to be honest with you, that can just happen. You know, it just happens. And so it's going to happen. When it does happen, we don't want to be out too much silver. All right, so we're getting there on some of these. All right, let's go try a different spot, though. I remember trying the campsite at a really low level when I first, was playing, but for whatever reason I haven't tried it a lot since. How far towards that could we get, I wonder? Let's just try this. I'm not sure how good. We'll go to like 1 meter and see if it's too deep. Alright, let's tighten our feeder up here. Okay, it's a good sign. We're getting a pretty quick bite here on the worms. You know what? We're going to have to... That bamboo rod isn't big enough to... It's like so tight right there. I think it's going to keep the fish from getting on. We'll see. See if that works. I think it will. Okay, it's possible we have a fish on here. No, it's just the line settling, I guess. I think we do have a fish nibbling. We'll see. On the feeder line. I don't mind putting more expensive hooks on the feeder lines. Not that we can't break stuff there. Not that we won't break line. We will occasionally, but it's gonna, having a reel gives us more of a chance with some fish where there's so much slack here. We just got to try it again. Wow. Okay. Let's hope this is not another big boy. Ooh, it is. So if this is a tench, yeah, we gotta be careful. Tench get too big for our little gear. Nice Crucian. The real question is, what do we have on the maggots? Nice little cast there. What is on the maggots? Okay, something small. Oh, it's a rough. There's some orders for rough. Alright, so. Oh, jump. Is that a fish? Alright, let's try this. Let's try this out. First of all, let's put worms on here. And let's just do a little cast like this. See if we can get something to bite on our feeder right here at the shore. Was that a marker tench? It wasn't. I was wondering, we just didn't get much experience for it. I was like, what's going on? See, it won't be long till we're catching like Chinese sleepers and maybe rough. So I figure let's put our feeder close to the shore here for one time and see what we get. There we go. There we go. Oh. Let's see what this is. Oh, there we go. That's a nice one. Yeah. I like it. Is that our... Oof. This is where you want to casting that, whatever you call it. Alright, that's our first bream. Really nice fish there. We've been going for bream out in the middle of the lake in these deep holes, and where do we catch our first bream? Right here at the shore. But as you could see, with how we struggled with that, even bringing it in, full-size bream is going to be really difficult with this gear. Just no way around it. But it was a marker, so we got some good experience. We'll get a couple silver for it. We probably ought to change the bread to worm. There's another fish on our feeder, it looks like. Yeah. This might be a better strategy for the place that we're at the point we're at, in terms of just letting our feeders just get a high quantity of fish, even if the quality's not already there. Just missed one on the bamboo. A lot of non-marker fish, but it's just to be expected. Using small hooks, the type of bait we're using, it's going to happen, but you just have to grind through it. Early levels, you just have to grind through it. Nice. Let's see if we had two feeders hooked up. See the percentage of fish that I'm catching on feeders versus missing is infinitely higher, obviously, than what's happening on these float rods. That's why I can handle having one float rod, but I really want to get that second feeder out. We haven't put burnt worms on the bamboo yet, have we? Fish on the feeder rod. Just swam towards shore. It's not registering it yet, though. Maybe it's not really there, or maybe it just hasn't registered yet. Remember, worms, you can get a batch of worms every day from the cottage pond. And once it's like full on nighttime, we'll do that just to do that. I think I need to recast the feeder actually, but okay, it is on a snag. Just hit enter and open your bail when you're getting off these snags, and then right click. That way you're not causing damage to your reel every time you're trying to free from the snag. I don't know how that snag happened, to be honest, but so there it goes. I don't even know where this... Oh, I see it now. F does turn your flashlight on when it starts to get really dark. This is one of those long bites again, which of course makes me nervous after the last long bite we had. It's pulling full against the rod. Yeah, I think we just have to pull it in now. It's a decent fish. Wow, look at that thing. We may have to drag it up on the beach. Yeah, that's a big Crucian. That is a really big Crucian. I think what's happening with our bamboo rod is we may have it a little too deep for how close to the shore it ends up getting cast. I don't think it was setting correctly. So another rough. We can check that rough order. I think we needed 3, or it might have been 5 of them, so we're not there yet. But this time of night, it starts to slow down. That's why we have just worms in, because we're trying to catch those Chinese sleepers or rough things that will still bite at night. Something's on the feeder. Something's pretty excited on the feeder. Let's see what this is. Gibel. Let's put our friction brake back down. Ooh, I don't necessarily love that cast this time of night. I think this time of night we definitely want it to be a little closer. Now, if we threw it farther out, I think we would increase our chance of getting a rough, but we could still get one here, and we also might get some of those sleepers, so. You definitely want to fish through the night if you don't have anything else to do. One thing that I've thought about us doing here before we wrap up this episode is traveling back to the cottage pond just to remind you on how you can get the free worms and even full sets of bamboo basic starter gear if you need it. That's always available to you. So. And it, takes a little time up traveling back and forth. So it helps you get through the night if the night hours have gotten too slow fishing wise. I think this has turned into a pretty good spot. Has the potential of getting the tench and all the normal stuff during the day. We even caught a little bream in this spot on worms. So this spot seems to have done pretty good for us. The tench are definitely risky. And anytime you see the moss and the lilies in the water like this, you're going to have tench that'll come through this area. So things like worms and maggots will occasionally catch those tench. It's risky on this gear because, if a 2 kilo tench decided to get on the line, we may or may not be able to get it in on our telescopic rod. I think we could get a 2 kilo tench in on our feeder rod, but even that wouldn't be easy given the line size and reel size we have. So that was another rough. We may be able to get that rough order done. It just depends on the weight requirements of the rough for the order. Rough ends up becoming a really nice fish later on when you level, because eventually you can turn rough into bait fish and then fish with the rough. So you'll see even high level players will sometimes. So we want to go ahead and get this fish. We saw the line go swimming right towards the shore. This looks like a sleeper. Before he got us snagged on that log again. Go ahead and grab it. No idea where this hook or bobber is. Okay. I've been impressed with the size of Chinese sleepers. We usually, a lot of times I feel like you get the real small ones, but we've been pretty fortunate on getting those marker Chinese sleepers, and that'll help us add up a little bit towards some silver. That is a nice rough. That hit level 7 for us. Which means next video, if we so choose, we can go to winding and test some spots out. And we may do that during the next video, although I really don't think I'll do that until I have at least 2 feeders set up. The other thing that it would be nice is to go ahead and get the shovel, because you really want to make it to the point where you can make pearl barley. Pearl barley is so good here, but especially at winding. It just, to me, doesn't make sense going to winding without being able to use pearl barley as a bait. Yeah. They're just dragging it to the limit there. Alright, let's go check cafe. See what's going on over there. So I think this spot has been good. I think I'd probably come back to this spot. Possibly when we fish here again. And there's more spots. You know, this spot was just past camp. There's more spots around this corner that are kind of similar to that spot. Just when they're hot, you're going to get a high volume of fish, and then plus you have that chance of getting those tench and other species that are going to give you just more XP than some of the smaller ones. So we're 1 rough short. Okay, hold on, we got to address that. We really don't want to be short. Shoot, and we're 1 Crucian short. This is the downside, I would say, of me trying to do these episodes and not fishing for too long, because the cafe orders are just kind of by attrition, right? Like, you just keep working on them, and if you fill your net up, like we've got 33 fish. Well, if we fished until we had, 100 fish, or at least 60 fish or something, then by then we're surely going to have some of those cafe orders, whether we are meaning to or not. Common roach we probably won't get. We didn't have any of the big roach. No silvers, none of the big rough except for the one that was actually too big for that order. And our Chinese sleepers were too big as well. So what would be really nice if we get 1 more Crucian in that size range and 1 more rough between 20 and 44. This could be a rough this time of night. Oh, that's not a rough. That must be, well, I don't know what that is. Is that a bream? It's so dark I can't hardly see. Oh, it's a big Crucian. Okay. Sometimes it's just easier to put your feeder out here on the dock, especially if you're getting a pretty nice volume of bites. Just get it back out there pretty quick. Yeah, that was a nice Crucian. So if we don't get any cafe orders, we've made 25 silver. Not bad. Not bad. Not enough to get our second feeder line going. Feeder rig, but definitely will help. Definitely will help, but getting a couple cafe orders would help even more. Slow bites at night though. Chinese sleeper. Another nice one. That's crazy. That's crazy. Really high quality Chinese sleepers. The roach have been really small. Crucian's kind of all over the place. Haven't gotten too many gibel. Small perch, small rough. That one undersized tench and a couple of white bream. Unreal. Just unreal. Might have been the Crucian range we needed. Were we one or two short? Nope, that was it. All right, so that's 5 silver for 5 undersized Crucian, right? Puts us up to 18 silver, so that's helpful. At least we got that. We'll find out shortly if we're going to get the rough or not. What is that bobber doing? Okay. Quit trying to steal my worm. That's the Chinese sleeper size I'm used to getting. Much smaller. Much smaller. I think the size range for the sleepers, like, we're just not getting any in that range, which is interesting. Once you get to 45%, you can use a leader. That would definitely increase your bite rate in a place like this, I feel like. Well, maybe not. Mosquito's pretty muddy. Sometimes leaders do make a huge difference, though. But it might not in a place like this. You get such an eclectic group of fish when fishing at Mosquito. Roach. Let's go remind ourselves how much the shovel costs. 38 silver. I feel like it's never too early to buy the shovel, but well, this is interesting. What are we getting spooled on here on worms, do you think? So what I'm doing right now is just sort of anticipating that this fish has taken off. And so I'm trying to keep the tension up by reeling as we're walking. But it is possible that if we don't start walking towards where the fish is running to, we are going to get spooled. So let's just see if we've worn it down at all. So friction brake 23. We're not in the red, but he's still pulling. If we go to 24, we're in the red, but it still sounded like he was pulling a little bit. Let's try to keep that tension on. Alright, let's go back to 23. I think he has gotten a little bit tired. So the trick here is going to be a fish this size. We don't have a landing net yet, so it may be difficult to get him out of the water. We might have to sort of back up and try to beach him and then run forward and see if we can capture him, if we can even get him in. Let's see if we can get on this side of the fish so that it has the tendency to run back towards where we came from instead of farther out in the lake. We want to get to the point where the tension wears the fish out. And as much as possible, you want to not touch your right mouse button. And you want to keep pressure and keep your rod up in the air. Don't point at the fish with the end of your rod. Alright, it looks like we have finally worn this fish out a little bit. He is coming towards us now. Well, is that a tench? I'm actually not sure. Alright, let's see if we can lift it. It is a tench. That is a nice fish. So the good thing about tench, and remember I was talking about if we get a 2 kilo tench, I wasn't sure how that was going to go. Well, that was a 1.5 kilo tench, and that was a struggle. You can see we got a ton of experience. We're almost at 7.5 now with that fish. But tench are strong. The good news about tench is they do tire out. As you can see, that one just basically died on the line, and we were able to pull him straight in there after he wore out. Not all fish tire out that quickly, but that is a nice thing about the tench. And of course, fish are definitely on, or have been on, these hooks. There's another Chinese sleeper. And is it still on? Yeah. Wow, we got really fortunate that those fish stayed on the hooks that long. Common roach. All right, so let's check. Let's just do a quick run through. Make sure we're not missing anything. And then we will wrap this episode up. So only 3 out of the 5 roach we needed. And 1 out of the 5 bream. We didn't get any of the rough in that size. Yeah, so that's going to be it. it would have been nice to have that Tench order up again that we had last time. That did give us a good bit of silver. Let's look by price. Of course, the Tench is going to be by far the most silver, coming in at 6 silver. We got a really nice rough. It's weird that the rough is the second most valuable fish we got, but that shows you why fishing at night can be good. You catch those rough all night long. Same with the big Chinese sleeper. Pretty good payday on that one as well. White Bream was nice. The large, really large Crucian. And then there's the regular bream, and that's a 1.5 bream for 2 silver, and that is barely a marker, barely a record fish, valued fish. And so they just go up from there all the way up to 4 or 5 kilos on the trophies. So you get a lot of silver once you get to 2.5 kilos, 3 kilos. Those bream are just money fish. So, but we will take 33 silver. That puts us at 51 silver. If you remember how much it cost, was going to cost us to get the feeder rod, the feeder rig last time, we're going to kind of have some choices to make next time we get on. If we want to start putting together a second feeder rod, just like the one we have, we definitely will get the rod, the starter rod. I guess the only question I have is, do we want to do another spark, which is going to be 9.5 silver, or do we just save a little bit more to get the Lacerti? No, we're not at the point of getting Lacerti. That's a lot more. And these are a little better reels. If you look at it's a half star. I think the gear ratio is a little different on the Libra. And then the Smart is a 1.5 star, but still max drag of 3. Yeah, I mean, it's a nicer reel for sure. But it's still the same strength, and for the silver difference at our level, you're going to get the fishing spark every time. So we're probably going to end up getting a second feeder rod just like the one we have. And so we'll have 2 very basic starter feeder rods and 1 float rod, and we will at that point start, we might craft bread until we can craft pearl barley, because I don't know that we may want to go to winding before we're going to be able to afford the shovel. After we put our next feeder rod together, my next priority will be getting a shovel and a landing net. So that's what we'll be focused on next video. But as always, thanks for watching. Had some really nice comment in the previous video, and a lot of you came and watched the first one. I appreciate that. These long form videos, I'm just not quite as sure about, but if this is helpful, I'm definitely willing to do it. I always enjoy playing low level content in this game. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.